Hey, thanks for stopping by Mystic Messages. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Hope everyone is doing amazing. I also want to first off wish everybody a happy Juneteenth. If you're celebrating, I hope you're enjoying your day. And I'd also like to remind everyone that these messages are timeless and will be received in divine timing for those who need to hear them. And not everyone will resonate. And if they don't apply, let them fly. You can always come back for the next one. However, I do encourage you to hang out, especially for today's message, because basically it's a message that's more collective than anything else. Okay, but it's something that I was being guided to speak about today. Especially being Juneteenth. Okay, ironically, the day is Juneteenth. We're talking about slavery, the abolishment of slavery in 1865. Okay, and this is something that we should all be celebrating. Okay, not just the African American citizens and their ancestors who have gone through that, but we should all be celebrating and supporting each other today. Okay, and let's try to remember not to accuse individuals who are celebrating a specific day based upon their heritage. Okay, let it not be said, or let's not try to think that people are trying to gain unnecessary attention for wanting to celebrate a specific day based on their heritage. Everyone has that right to do that, and we should all be celebrating each other regardless of the day that we celebrate. Okay, regardless of who the celebration is for. Okay, we're all one, and that's what we need to remember. And this is what Source wants us to remember. Okay, I'm actually getting channeled through very heavily right now. There's a lot coming through. Okay, because today's message, basically, I keep hearing breaking the ties that bind. Okay, and this ties into Juneteenth, um, the Juneteenth message today. Okay, breaking the ties that bind. And what Source needs you to understand, okay, is it may not be your fault. Okay, a lot of times we were raised in situations, we were taught certain ideals. We were raised in close knit communities, close knit families where there weren't there wasn't a lot of room for deviation. Everyone had to be the same. You had to look the same. You had to do the same. You had to feel the same. You had to think the same. Okay? These are all forms of slavery. Okay? And these things were imposed on individuals by family members, by churches, by schools, especially in tight knit communities, where the entire community controlled a narrative of what went on in that community. Okay? Again, all these things are enslavement. And this is why it's so important for us to celebrate days like Juneteenth, not just for the descendants of the original slaves that were brought to this land, okay, and for their blood that went into this land, okay, we need to respect that they were part in building this country to what it is. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very pleasant way, but it is what it is, and history is not always nice, but we can do better. And that's what the point of this message is about. It's about cohesiveness, about unity. It's about getting together. Okay. It's about realizing, okay, that we don't have to be enslaved by old ideas, by things that we were taught. Okay. If we were taught to hate individuals because of the color of their skin or because of their sexuality or because of the way that they looked, okay, these are traps of the matrix. These are the things that enslave us. They keep us in a negative mindset and a lower vibration. These are lower vibrational things, okay? And as adults, we have a choice to make. We can either stay in that stagnation or we can move forward, okay? And so whoever is receiving this message today obviously is struggling with this. Whoever I'm speaking to, the individuals who I'm speaking to are struggling. You're surrounded by family members, friends, and community who think one way, but meanwhile, there's something going on within yourself and something that you've always known that you don't think the way that these individuals do, okay? And you've been silent about it. That's the problem, okay? That's a big part of the problem. You're not expressing how you feel to these individuals because of fear of being rejected, okay? So the thing is, again, break free from the bondage, okay? Regardless of the rejection, everybody gets rejection, you know? I had so much rejection in my life, I could do it standing on my head. It's no big deal. This is what we do as adults. Adults haven't developed enough ego to deal with the rejection. Deal with the rejection. This is what healthy adults do. And again, it's no judgment on anyone because it's not easy to learn how to do that. Okay, it takes many years. I spent many years working as a counselor where the first thing, people would tell you in the morning is to go fuck yourself. Okay. And you had to learn to, pleasantly look back and respond with a smile and say, okay, good morning to you too. When you're ready to speak to me appropriately, come back to me. Now, for now, get the hell out of my face and move on from it. Okay. You need to get a tough skin. Okay. We all need to learn how to do that. And again, it's not easy, but unfortunately, in this matrix that we're living in, or that we're surviving in, I should say, this is how it works. We have to learn how to play this game. And part of the game is to raise our vibration, love one another, celebrate one another, okay, respect one another. Even if we don't agree with each other, it doesn't matter. We don't have to always agree with each other, okay? It doesn't mean you can't love an individual for the soul that they are, that the Creator made them to be, because everyone has potential. But it doesn't mean when they're doing something wrong that we got to lay back and take it either, okay? It doesn't mean you got to be a schmuck and say, okay, you know what, this person's speaking out of their ass, and I'm going to sit here and just forget about my own integrity and allow that to happen in my presence, okay? And if we don't agree, we can agree to disagree. And if they don't like what I have to say, I can move on. And the same thing applies for you. Again, we do that for our own benefit, moving on from situations that don't benefit us, that don't help elevate ourselves, that don't raise our own vibrations. That's not helping us. It's keeping us stagnant, okay? And it's painful when you have to move away from situations and thought processes that you've learned your entire life. It can be jarring, but it's possible. It can be done. And again, these are just suggestions. You have free will, as always, to do what you want to do. And this is just to possibly plant the seed in your head if you're receiving this message. Okay. And like I said prior, there is, before we end this message, there is a book out there that I think is a great book. I own it myself. I can't find it at the moment because I have it locked away in a box somewhere. But it's called, and I'm gonna post it in the description for anyone who's interested. It's on Amazon. I actually reviewed it as one of the books that I reviewed on Amazon for my BIND program. Uh, it's called the Juneteenth Cookbook. Okay, it's a really cool cookbook. It's great. It's got a lot of ideas, especially for gatherings. It's got recipes. It's got game ideas if that's what you're into. It's basically about family gatherings and love and unity and working together as a community and coming together as a community and celebrating. That's what the book is about. And I really suggest it to anyone, especially if they have family members or friends who are, who have a distorted viewpoint of other people who have been taught to have a distorted viewpoint. Like I said, a lot of times this isn't people's fault when they have these ingrained feelings inside them. But when you become an adult, it does become our fault because we have to take responsibilities for our behaviors. Okay, so this is where I said we can choose to stay in darkness and stagnation, or we can choose to move away. The choice is ours. We can choose to remain quiet when people are speaking bullshit, or we can have the guts to speak our mind, regardless of whether people are going to like it or not. Okay, that's the bottom line. This is how you raise your own vibration and the planetary vibration. You weren't sent here to be a doormat for anyone. We were sent here to learn the karmic lessons, okay? Raise our vibration, okay? Elevate ourselves and try our best to elevate the planet and the inhabitants and move on to the next dimension. That's the goal. If that's your goal, you know what you need to do, okay? No one here is going to force you. I'm not here to spoon feed anyone. I'm not here to, feed pablum to anyone. It's just not the way I work, and it's not because I have no empathy. I understand. I do. I get it. I get how difficult change is, and I get how hard it is to move away from the familiar. Okay, I get how hard it is to speak up when it's not the popular thing to say. I get it. I do that, most every day when I come out in here and do that. But it's a choice that I'm making as an adult. If I want to make a difference in my life, and to help make a difference in the world and to do my part of what I'm being called to do, this is what I got to do. I'm doing my part. Whether I like it or not is another story, okay? Because, like I said, this was difficult for me. This wasn't easy for me to learn how to do this. I have no technical background. I have no, AV background of any kind. This is all, and like I said, it's miraculous in its own way. The only reason why you see me here before you is because of, divine intervention. There's no other answer because I didn't know how to do any of this crap. Okay, it was just never my thing. I didn't grow up in a time where computers were readily available. I went to school in the 70s, and 80s. Okay, I graduated high school, in 89. And especially going to Catholic school, we didn't have computers. We didn't have all these kinds of things that they might have had in public school. But in those days, really nobody had it. Okay, so it wasn't something that I grew up with. But again, I'm sharing that story to, show everyone that there is something higher out there that's in charge, but we have to let ourselves accept that, become free, let ourselves go. Okay. And as hard as that is to do, and believe me, as stubborn as a person as I am, it was very difficult for me to let go and let something else other than myself take control based upon things that happen in my life. And those are stories that I'll share, further down the line. But right now, it's not important. What's important is today's message, and that the correct people receive it, and hopefully that they do. So I set the intention that the correct people will receive this message. And even if this message doesn't apply for you, it might apply to someone that you know. I'd appreciate it if you pass it on, because maybe they might get something out of it. Okay, and you'll be doing your part to help the universe out as well. All right, that being said, I want to wish everyone a happy rest of the holiday, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.